this hands-on, the main goal is to show how, with a very minimal amount of effort, we can have a fully functional API. I say here in 5 minutes. I will try to do it in 5 minutes. It depends on the network, and also I'm gonna do some tricks. If you allow me. Sorry. Well, I will show you that. No. I will provide you with the data to do the tricks as well. So well, I'm going to use the. Let me check here. The Cloud9 environment. This Cloud9 it's a very nice environment to do some tests, and also for the one that teach some web developer or microservices courses, is pretty good for the students as well to work, because it doesn't need any installation and is ready to use. So once you have, and also they have some teacher license, so for $1 per month you can have any number of repositories for your students. Is really good. So with this Cloud9 you can create a new workspace. Let's see, now is when I'm going to be very adventurous in this demonstration because everything is relying on the network. So I'm sorry in advance if something goes wrong. So basically, it's very easy to create a new workspace. You just do a name. For example, I'm gonna call it OAI exoc. And in general, you can choose a runtime language, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to just use the default one, the HTML5. This is Cloud9. What they do is they generate a container for you, and you can start coding right away. Let's see. This is a good point to do some jokes or about APIs or any questions. It typically is less than 1 minute, so okay, great. So as we can see, is a typical environment. I'm not going to stop explaining Cloud9. So what you have here is let me put that on a bigger screen just to and a little bit bigger so you can see it. I'm going to remove and delete all the different assets that you have by default. So here we're going to create this API, and in order to do that, we're going to use one of the first tools that I was showing you. The first tool is called Swagger, and they have an editor that is pretty good to create the scaffolding. We're going to use the version, the old version, because they are moving to the V3, but the generation now is currently available for V2. So everything that I'm going to do here is V2. So if you go to editor2.swagger.io, you can open the tool. It takes a little bit the first time you run it, and now meanwhile you're looking at it. I've just created a gist. This is the trick that I'm going to provide you. I provide you with some elements in advance in order to satisfy the 5 minutes requirement. So basically here, what I've created is an open API specification for a very simple API. And this API is going to be an API to create votes over talks, and it will allow for anybody to post votes, and we could get the results of the votes. So in order to get this gist, if you go to gist.github, I'm going to put this in a big editor, notepad, for example, here. If you go to this link, you will see the examples, the code examples I'm using. If you go to the default service JS, OA at exoc, okay. So did you copy the link? You have it. github.com. This is my user. So in here, you have to click on default service JS, and you have all the sample that I'm going to use. Specifically, one of the key point here is a YAML example. If you press the raw button here, you can access a specific example. So let's see if the Swagger, perfect. So if the Swagger editor has opened for you, you will see it divides the screen with an editor on the left part, and then you have this thing on the right part. We will stop there later on. Since I'm creating the API before the talk, I already have it. But the only thing you need to do is just copy the whole specification of API and paste it here. Pass it here. Okay. So if everything is good, the only thing you need to do to generate the scaffolding is the generate server. As you can see, there are multiple technology stacks, and specifically I'm going to use the Node.js that is very lightweight to do the example. So once you do this, what you have is a fully functional mockup for your API. So once you have downloaded the code, the only thing you need to do in Cloud9 is just upload it, and then you have your zip file with the mockup. So if we unzip the mockup, then you can have this this new folder. I'm gonna rename it just for the sake of simplicity to, for example, talk votes. And inside of these talk votes, we have this scaffolding. Well, what do we need to make it work? Well, in Node.js, you need to have this command install all the dependencies of the packages that depend this application, and is typically pretty quick. Now is downloading and putting on the folder the Swagger middlewares and everything that the scaffold needs. So a new folder, not modules, is generated. Well, that's it. That's the only thing we need to run the application. So now we can in the folder. There's an index.js that is the main entry point to the application, and we can do a run, and this will start the application. Let's clean this a little bit just to make it easier. And that's it. It's already deployed. So I can go to this link, and apparently there's nothing there, because I didn't specify any endpoint for the root resource. But if I go to docs, I have the Swagger generated documentation, and this is one of the most interesting things. For example, I didn't need to specify anything about testing, anything like that, and now I have a ready-to-use portal that I can send to developers to start to show how the API works. In this case, the API will have 3 different operations. I can post a vote, so I can say, for example, OAI and vote 10. I can post again, for example, with an 8. I can get the results of a vote. And as I can see, everything apparently works. Well, if you look at the data, it doesn't work because it's examples that they are rendering. But you have a fully functional testing platform for your API. Now, this is a complete mock-up. But the good thing is that you have with this scaffold, you have validation embedded. So, for example, if I put instead of 8, I put 15. And try it out, I get an error because the maximum number is 10. So you can in the specification you can do the maximum minimum data. So it's a layer it's a very convenient layer of validation. So what do we need to make this work for real? Well, if we look at the structure of the code generated, everything is generic except, well, we have a folder where we have the API Swagger YAML. If we open it, we see the actual YAML that the actual specification, OAI specification v2 that we have generated. I mean, sorry, that we have written, I provided to you. This is the only thing we need to modify if we want to add more resources, more to change the data types. This is the only thing. And for each path that you have specified in the controllers folder, a file default is generated. This is because, because I've put the Swagger this line in the specification just to group the different methods. So if I go to default.js, what I see it's a generic middleware to link the roots with internal functions of my code. And if I go to the default service, this is where all the code is done. So I can see a default code generated where, for example, delete boats doesn't do anything, get results just return a sample data, and register boat doesn't do anything at all. So in order to speed things up and not make it very boring at this time, I've just created a skeleton of the behavior. It's very simple. You can see that the sample code is, in case you want to delete boats, what I do, well, all the data will be stored in memory in a map. And in case I want to delete the boats, the only thing I do is just reset with a new array the boats of the resource. In case I want to return the result of a voting, I just do a count, an average, and a count of the votes. And in case I want to register a vote, the only thing I do is just push the vote into the map. It's very, very simple, the code. So if I get this code example and passed it into the default service.js, I have a fully working API right now. So if I rerun the server, then I have now I can start working with the API. So for example, if I vote for example 5 7 then I can get the results here. I have now a valid API working. So this is well, you will see. I don't know if it took 5 minutes or not with the trick of the code, but more or less. I hope you get the idea. So this is related with the generation of the whole code. But let me show you another tooling that is very interesting. If you go to the shell, let's try to do some testing. As I mentioned before, I want to do some minimal testing over this API, and we're going to use this tool that is called OATS, OATTS. This is the way we install tools in the Node environment. We are downloading the command and installing into the system. And also this tool uses one package that is called Chakram to do some requests, and also basically we need a test runner and we use the Mocha test runner. So just install these three. This is the last one globally. And with these three things, we have ready to go a testing platform. How can we use it? For the only thing we need to do with the oats command is to say where is the, I'm going to say generate based on the Swagger file, the specification file. I want to write the test into the test folder, and you have to specify where is the application running. That is basically the host name where you want the test to run. With that in mind, the oats generate these test cases there in the folder, and we can run it straightforward with Mocha. And there we have three different tests that are generated for example, testing if you do some get to a talk ID, it should return 200. If you go to do some post with no data, should return an invalid vote. And if you do some delete, it should return 200 if everything goes okay. And actually, if you see the test folder, just to see an example, it generates fake IDs just to test your, for example, this is testing this fake talk ID in the test case. And I have to say, well, it is really, really, really useful. When I was preparing the talk, thanks to this tool, I detect several mistakes in my API implementation with the default. But the good thing about Oats is a template system. You have a catalog and you can extend with more templates, so you can have a wide range of tests. Well, with that in mind, well, this is the hands-on I had prepared. Just to check whether you like it or not, I would like to do some test with you. Can you access with a mobile phone or with a laptop or to this link if you can? Did you access it? So this is I have deployed this API to Heroku, and is running. So just to do some check with all of you, if you go to this link, let me copy and paste. You will see this web page, right? So if you press in default, let's do some voting over this talk. So for example, let's everybody use the talk ID, for example, OAI at IC-SOC, for example, something like that. If you do that, and please do some evaluation of the hands-on between 0 and 10. This is very risky because we're going to see the results. Actually, I have here, I just create a render for the OAI at IC-SOC to see. Oh. Well, that's pretty good. Only 4 votes. Can you put that? So the votes is, yes, sorry, I lose it. Oh, wow. No, this is an old one. Here. Oh, 24. That's pretty good. Well, 28. That's pretty nice. Thank you. The place is here. This is the place. Exactly. Let me put it like this and open like this. So well, 30. Someone is voting more than one time. I'm assuming. But anyway, well, I'm sure you get the point.